And we're back at Balance Patch Games. It is top 4, and we are going to get right into it. It's Anthony Londergan and Ronald Ayers. Here we go. How you feeling, Liam?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. This is an exciting matchup. As we heard from these two players, they played yesterday at the Cheese League Cup that we had.
Shout out, Cheese.
Shout out to Cheese, my favorite New England TO.
Liam, who won that?
We'll never know. It's a mystery.
I think I heard a really good player won that.
Yeah, someone who's like, pretty all right, but has like, no relevant like regional placing. So like, who cares?
Oh,
really?
come on. So let's look at Ronald's team for a second. We've seen it before. It's Calyrex, it's Miraidon, it's Furigraph, it's Iron Hands. And as we've seen a couple different variants in this very tournament, there's an Iron Valiant. This one's got the coaching and the wide guard as its kind of support flex moves. And then you've got the choice band on the Urshifu Water, again, for maximum damage. Not a ton of speed control outside of the Trick Room, so maybe it's a slower Urshifu that's supposed to go first under TR. But you don't want to be on the other end of those Surging Strikes.
No, certainly not. You want to protect in front of that Miraidon? Can't do it. You're getting destroyed by that choice band Urshifu. It's Terra Ghost too, which means that it dodges any of the fake outs, especially the one that's coming out from that Rillaboom on the opposite side with Anthony. But this is a very interesting take on this team. Like, obviously, we've got like the 5 Pokemon kind of seemingly inspired by the previous World Finalists teams. Like a whole bunch of that all crammed together into one cohesive, I run a variation of this team myself, and it feels good. Everything about it is real nice.
Good enough to win Cheese League.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, and especially with this like choice card from Ronald with the Snarl too, to really drop any of like the special attacks coming out from like the Kyogres or the Cali Shadow Riders on the other side. This is just, I like this team.
Yeah, let's take a look at Anthony now. Classic Torn Ogre. A lot of, again, those similar compositions from a serious Kyogre player in the last regulation. But this time, it's the Rillaboom. It's a Calyrex Ice, and I love this set. It's Terra Grass. It's got Seed Bomb as its kind of 4th move, so no high horsepower, no close combat. But it's a Seed Bomb that can be boosted by both Terra Grass and a grassy terrain from Rillaboom. So really kind of a neat setup there. And if he wants to hit Steel types, well, on his team he's got the Life Orb Urshifu Water, another kind of remnant from the previous Regulations Kyogre team. And then it's got that classic Amoonguss, Rocky Helmet, Rage Powder, Pollen Puff, and this one running Terra Fairy.
Yeah, plenty of huge offensive options here for the Kyogre. We saw it previously how he's able to just keep clicking Water Spout, chunking down his opponents, constantly turn over turn. This match specifically, I'm hoping to see that Calyrex get into that Grass Terra, especially in front of like this Miraidon, in front of this Urshifu. It's going to be able to resist like the Wild Charge from the Iron Hands too. I mean, we're probably going to see it on the Kyogre more than anything for all those reasons alone, but I want to see that Seed Bomb do some work.
I know. I want to see that Seed Bomb run too. As I mentioned before, one thing with Ronald's team is that it's a Miraidon team, which means that it doesn't have a lot of sleep answers outside of the Miraidon itself. Mm-hmm. And Anthony deciding to double up on grass types, maybe triple up or quadruple up if you want to Terra one of the one of his restricteds. But he's got the grassy terrain setter Rillaboom that can come next to the Amoonguss, overwrite the electric terrain, and then all of a sudden, Ronald's got no defense against Spores and Sleep. So it'll be interesting to see if Ronald needs to, if that's a line that Anthony goes for, if he tries to put things to sleep with his Amoonguss after changing the terrain. Yeah. I'm interested to see how Ronald uses the Iron Valiant in this matchup. But we see Kyogre and Amoonguss coming out right away, and Urshifu and Furigraph from Ronald.
Okay. Yeah, I like this lead from Ronald's side a lot. It's a good answer into the Amoonguss, specifically because the Furigraph puts a lot of pressure onto it with the Psychic, pressuring it to Terra, and like a good double up with the Surging Strikes plus Psychic will likely take out that pesky Amoonguss. And since Electric Terrain isn't up right now, he could be worried about Sleep, worried about Redirection since it resists the big hits that Miraidon can dish out. So definitely a priority for Ronald is just taking out this Amoonguss round 1.
Certainly.
But that does leave the Kyogre free to do whatever, although...
Free to spout.
Free to spout.
Yeah, you know, nothing's stopping the Amoonguss from clicking Rage Powder here, right? Amoonguss can always redirect for a Graph and the Urshifu. So the question is, does Anthony think that's worth it? Does Anthony think, okay, if I take a Surging Strikes plus a Psychic, worst case, is that worth the amount of damage I'll get off of a Water Spout? I think the answer depends on what he has in the back, but it looks like that's what he's going to go for. You see the Rage Powder coming out here. The Amoonguss will stomach whatever hits are coming in, and whatever's going to replace this Urshifu is going to have to take a full power Spout.
Yeah, and like we've seen previously, not much likes to take that. I think, yeah, we can see the Miraidon coming in here, which is his only real resist to this hit, but it's still going to take quite a bit.
Yeah, anytime you're dealing with abilities that affect weather or terrain, and you have and you have conflicting abilities on both teams, a lot of times it comes down to who blinks first, right? Who sets the weather first, or who sets the terrain first? Because once the terrain is established, like here, we have that electric terrain on the field. So now Anthony's free to just bring in a Rillaboom and overwrite it. The Amoonguss survives that Psychic, which is going to be huge. It can now switch out, regenerate, come into Rillaboom. I think this is a really nice spot for a Rillaboom to switch in here on Anthony's side of the field. We'll see if Ronald thinks through that and maybe tries to attack it with the Miraidon. But I think this is... Or we'll just see a Rage Powder, and it's another Spout.
Yeah, I would have thought that the Amoonguss would want to switch out, you know, get rid of the electric terrain, and we see the Snarl coming out, which will both weaken the Water Spout because it's Kyogre is getting less HP and it's getting that special attack drop.
Yeah, the downside of that, though, is you are now choice locked into Snarl, which is a very weak move. So despite the fact that you have, Ronald going for the Trick Room and totally reversing the dimensions, and we might now see Ronald switch up his style because it's been a fast game with Miraidon and Choice Band Urshifu. But now Anthony can take advantage of the Trick Room and bring out his own Calyrex, and it's threatening some serious KOs.
Yeah, this is tough. I could see what Ronald was going for here, getting rid of that Amoonguss so that it is not a threat to him under the Trick Room. But now that he's gotten the Trick Room up, Anthony does have his ways to take advantage of that, like we see with the Calyrex here. And now it puts this Choice Scar from Miraidon in an extremely awkward position where it's going to be the last thing on the field, and if it stays on, then it is going to give that Calyrex Ice a free attack boost.
Yeah, Anthony wisely deciding to go with kind of a slower, more Trick Room-oriented approach in this game. And the challenge with that is it's hard to get off full power Water Spouts against much faster Pokemon if you're not going to bring the Tornadus to boost the Calyrex's, or to boost the Kyogre's speed right away. But in using the redirection, he's able to get the value out of the Water Spout and still have the team composition, still have the resources to really punish Ronald for going in Trick Room. And really, Anthony might have wanted to set Trick Room himself at some point in this game. But now it's there for him. His Calyrex is at +2 attack, and it's got a Kyogre by its side. This is a Water Spout hits into nobody. But Anthony's in a very, very nice position right now.
Yeah, very commanding lead. And it's unfortunate for Ronald that the Giraffe also went down here, because with the defense boost plus the Terra Water and the Foul Play, that's one of the best answers that he really has to this Calyrex, especially if it gets the attack boost. The Foul Play is going to knock it out. And so now without that, and now this, he's sitting against a Calyrex that's at +2 attack, and it went first that previous turn, so it very well could be a min speed.
This also, Leon, we might get to see the Terra on the Calyrex here. But probably not, because you're facing down the Glacial Limits, but it would be fun to try to resist one of the Urshifu's moves. There's the Seed Bomb, so we do see the Grass-type attack, and it's going to take out the Urshifu before it can even move.
Yeah, and I think with that +3 getting into the Calyrex Ice, I think we see the Origin Pulse landing on the Calyrex. Does about 50%, but I don't think this Calyrex is going to be able to, recover from here. And we see the Kyogre going for the Protect from the high horsepower, because Glacial Lance wasn't picking up any of the KOs here anyways, so...
Yeah. Anthony being a little cheeky here. What this Protect on the Kyogre does, all it does is it stalls the game out a little bit, but It also makes it so that he doesn't have to reveal the 4th Mon that he has in the back.
He's saving his differential.
Although, that said, the Glacial Lance ended up taking out the Calyrex, so it didn't end up mattering. But should Ronald's Calyrex have survived that, it would have lasted another turn, and Anthony wouldn't have had to reveal the last Mon he has in the back. So a little bit of information safeguarding there, but a very comfortable win from Anthony. And once again, very well played around that Kyogre, not letting, not committing to the Tailwind, but still allowing it to get off full power Water Spout. That was the key to really chunking Ronald's team.
Definitely, and the Amoonguss is always the key to that with the redirection that is capable of. Ronald's end that doesn't have a whole lot of big spread moves, especially without like a Terra Fairy Dazzling Gleam that we usually see on this Miraidon. Sure, you have the Snarl to get guaranteed special attack drops, but you're not doing a lot of damage. So it's still able to get like these free big chunks off into the opponents constantly. And so it's just very difficult for Ronald to really find a way around this Amoonguss unless he were to like lead his Cali Ice to threaten it immediately.
Yeah, Amoonguss is such a strong Pokemon in this matchup, and the Miraidon teams are so used to being able to ignore it thanks to the electric terrain, but Rillaboom means that's not really an option, and Anthony making the smart move, maybe it was the Rillaboom that was the 4th Pokemon, but also maybe it wasn't. But
maybe.
Ronald can't afford to pretend that it's not, because there's always that threat of, especially if Anthony leads Amoonguss, even if you have the electric terrain out there, Rillaboom just switches in, and all of a sudden something is being put to sleep. So it's a really risky situation for Ronald. He kind of has to assume it's there until it's not, and that's a very tough way to play.
Yeah, very tough. Because it's tough. I don't think bringing Urshifu into this kind of team is a tough sell because of the Miraidon as well, especially with it being so fast. And we just see the same lead here from Anthony, but a good mix-up here from Ronald, leading with this coaching mode into the Calyrex Ice, and also threatening the Wide Guard in front of this Kyogre, which I believe only has water moves that are affected by Wide Guard, so he would be forced to click Ice Beam to not just to get any damage into this Valiant.
Yeah, no Hydro Pump, no Water Pulse, no Terra Water, Terra Blast, nothing with no single target water moves from this Kyogre. And I really like this Iron Valiant. I talked about it a little, or I mentioned it right before Game 1. Ronald didn't end up bringing it, but I think it offers a lot in this matchup. You can see here it can coach the Calyrex to really bump its physical attack, let it one-shot the Amoonguss if it wants to. It can Spirit Break the Kyogre to reduce its power, or it can just Wide Guard to keep it totally safe from all the water moves. Additionally, Ronald's Calyrex is Terra Water, which is a fantastic Terra type. Is he going to... Oh, he barely locked it in. I don't know. I think with committing the Terra, coaching might have been the optimal move there. But at the very least, he got something out of it. And the Calyrex won't be taking a lot of damage. And won't be taking anything if Kyogre decides to click a Water type attack.
Yeah, especially because we saw he was going for this Glacial Lance here. We see a Terra coming out from the other side, too. This is likely the Amoonguss, so... yes, so it is no longer weak to this Glacial Lance. So I think even with that +1 from the coaching, it likely wasn't going to get the KO. But now, this Amoonguss is sitting pretty, ready to spore down any one of these Pokemon.
Kyogre goes for the Protect, so the Wide Guard's not going to do anything. Those two moves are going to cancel out, essentially. Calyrex will get a Glacial Lance off into this Amoonguss, but the question is, who does the Amoonguss end up putting to sleep? You see there was no Miraidon switch in, so the Spore will not be blocked. And Calyrex had an opportunity to get to +1/+1, but wasn't quite able to do it. Now, we saw this kind of... Oh, we see that the Glacial Lance would not be enough to take out the Iron Valiant, even if... Or the Glacial Lance would not be enough to take out the Amoonguss, even if it did not Terra. +1 would have done it. But you also see the Calyrex is now Terra Water. So if Anthony does have that Rillaboom in the back, all of a sudden that is a huge problem.
That is a huge problem now. Especially, Rillaboom wants to be in the back, I think, just to deny the electric terrain here. And this sleep on the Valiant also is very huge, because now it can't go for the coaching, can't go for the Wide Guard. It's basically a dead slot. And even if electric terrain were to come out, that Valiant is still going to be fast asleep. It prevents the Pokemon from falling asleep, but once it's asleep, it's out.
Yeah, I think that timeout was really huge, because if Ronald was able to get that coaching off, then even though your Valiant is asleep, you have a Terra Water... You have a Terra Water Calyrex at +1, and nothing really wants to switch into that. And it could even, in a pinch, take a Wood Hammer from a Rillaboom thanks to the defense boost. Kyogre gets to pull it off the spout. That's going to do a large chunk of damage. Now it'll take a little bit of chip from the Glacial Lance. But once again, coming from neutral it's not going to do as much as Anthony would like, or as Ronald would like.
Yeah, and it's still got more HP. I believe it is still passing the threshold where Water Spout will still do more than Origin Pulse. But Ronald did bring out that Miraidon onto the field, so it took a lot from that Water Spout, but now it is directly threatened by this Miraidon, and now we see it retreat out into this Rillaboom.
Yeah, there's the fourth Pokemon. It's the Rillaboom indeed, and overriding the terrain is just humongous. Takes away 2 of Miraidon's multipliers, its ability, Hadron Engine, and the boost that its electric moves get from the electric terrain. The Calyrex on Ronald's side is going to protect. Volt Switch hits into the Calyrex, but thanks to the overriding of the terrain, it's not going to do nearly as much damage. And now something's going to have to come in and take what's either going to be a Glacial Lance or a Seed Bomb. It's going to be maybe even a Sleeping Iron Valiant that'll break its sash. It's not going to appreciate this.
No, certainly not. And yeah, now we've caught the Calyrex Ice. Yep, there's a Seed Bomb. This is what I was about to say. We caught the Calyrex Ice on Ronald's side is really caught in an awkward spot here because it wanted to Terra Water so badly in front of that Kyogre, but now that it has, it's threatened by this Rillaboom and now by that Seed Bomb from the Calyrex on the opposing side. So yeah, it's kind of forced to switch it out to keep it safe.
Yeah.
And this Valiant's just going to end up burning a turn of sleep. Maybe it might not even last through the turn.
Anthony's got a really nasty pin going here. Glacial Lance from the Calyrex plus Woodhammer from the Rillaboom can kind of just destroy anything that Ronald tries to do defensively. Instead, he's going to play it a little bit more safe. He's going to hit the U-turn, break the Focus Sash, bring on in whoever he wants to bring in. Maybe that Amoonguss to get some cheeky Regenerator healing. And this Calyrex is going to be free to launch a Glacial Lance or just to twist the dimensions.
Yep, there it is, the Glacial Lance. Not being concerned about this other Calyrex at all, calling the swap and just going straight for a U-turn into that Glacial Lance, bringing in that Amoonguss that is freshly regenerated, almost at full HP. And once again, it feels like Ronald's just kind of here on the back foot. He has Fake Out pressure now, but his other slot isn't doing anything unless he like tries to burn a turn of sleep on the Valiant. But then this Amoonguss could just put that other Iron Hands to sleep.
Yeah, and this is the tough part about being on the back foot with the terrain because Anthony has the grassy terrain up and the Rillaboom still in the back. So even if Ronald manages to worm his Miraidon back onto the field, it's still at risk of just having a Rillaboom switch in and then all of a sudden you can get put to sleep again. So this Amoonguss is really just a thorn in Ronald's side. We're going to see a Protect come out from Anthony's Calyrex in order to guard against any sort of Fake Out. But Fake Out doesn't come out. Iron Valiant stays asleep, and the Iron Hand is going to low kick into that Calyrex. But now this is a free turn for the Amoonguss.
Yeah, very nice Protect there from Anthony. And yeah, we see the Amoonguss going for that sleep onto the Iron Hands. Once again, no electric terrain means Amoonguss just has free reign here to just put everything to sleep and do what it wants. It's been such a nuisance here for Ronald.
Yeah, I think if Ronald wants any chance in this game, he's going to need to have the Iron Valiant wake up right now. And he's also going to need Anthony to not, call a switch in and spore the swap. Because this Amoonguss can do whatever it wants. It's facing 2 sleeping opponents. Just so much free space, so much leeway for Anthony. If he can capitalize on these turns and make a lot of progress here, I don't know if Ronald can come back out of it.
No. We can see Ronald here is trying to go for this coaching on his hands. Just like if he wakes up with this Valiant and gets the +1 onto the hands, but it does not happen. Valiant takes the full 3 turns of sleep, so it eats this Glacial Lance, doesn't support its partner in getting that defense boost, and Iron Valiant will just go down here to this Glacial Lance, giving Calyrex Ice that free attack boost, and putting Ronald in just such a tough position, with this Pollen Puff also coming out to fully heal that Calyrex up.
Yeah, Anthony just seizing that momentum and really, really getting ahead. And it's really a shame that the Iron Valiant wasn't able to accomplish more in that game. All it did was click a wide guard and then go to sleep. Maybe if it had been able to stick a boost on that Calyrex, things would have been different. But as it is now, Ronald's behind on the terrain war because the Rillaboom can always just come in, and he's got a Calyrex Ice Anthony's got a Calyrex Ice that's at full health, +1, and ready to just shoot out Glacial Lances.
Yep, and we see the Amoonguss once again switching out into this Rillaboom to rewrite that grassy terrain as we'd expect. And this is just so tough for Ronald here. We saw he locked in the slots, calling this protect, or this is swap, but the Volt Switch not doing nearly enough damage, and coming in back in on the switch will be this Calyrex, but it's already taken quite a lot of damage. Enough where, like, I don't think it can take 2 more Glacial Lances here.
Yeah, no, Ronald's switching power is really going to be shut off here because this Glacial Lance is going to take out the Iron Hands, which means the last 2 Pokemon that Ronald has on the field are going to be locked there. So Anthony can kind of adjust the board state to however he wants. He's got a Calyrex that has Seed Bomb for the Terra Water Calyrex and Glacial Lance for the Miraidon. And he's got an Amoonguss in the back that can always just switch around, redirect, absorb hits. So it's looking really, really good for Anthony here.
Really good for Anthony. Ronald finally has that terrain control, but Rillaboom is still out on the field with that fake out pressure, and it can freely fake out into this Miraidon since it can't, it can no longer like terastallize out of it. There's no protection here for it, and this other Calyrex will just get a free Glacial Lance up, and Ronald's, it's not going to be able to do a whole lot of damage back.
Yep, there's the fake out. It's going to flinch the Miraidon. Glacial Lance is going to come out from Anthony's side, and this may even be enough to finish it. Almost. Not quite. The Calyrex on Ronald's side hangs on just a little bit longer. It'll get off a Glacial Lance of his own if it wants, but I think the writing's just about on the wall here.
Yeah, pretty much. I think his only out may be to, have a quick Trick Room this turn to really reverse it. No.
I think even if that happens,
even if that happens,
the Amoonguss is still in the back.
Yeah, because he can switch the Amoonguss in, and then if he gets the terrain control back with the Rillaboom, he can still put it to sleep with the Amoonguss. So either way, it really feels like just Anthony had complete control over this game. Yep.
Here comes the Kyogre back out, ready to just click Water Spout and send Anthony into the finals.
Yep. Well, I'm just gonna click Glacial Lance here in a last-ditch effort to try and see if he can win it. But we're going to see the final spout here.
The beautiful rainbow.
Beautiful. And another rainbow explosion from the terastallization. And that will be the game wrapped up in the top 4. And Anthony Londigan will move on to our finals.
Yeah, I think as far as Anthony's world push goes, he said that he had to finish pretty high in this challenge if he wanted any points. So here you are. He's in the finals now. And he's ready to face off against the winner of our other semifinal match.
Yeah, we're still waiting on the results from that. Since this was a fairly quick 2-0, I can see the other players still playing out over there. And so, when that match is over, we will get back to you with the finals.